I drove out here to the field over here on the 73 acre field just to see what's going on, and you can see all the shipping containers are gone. So the guy's excavator is still sitting in the front, and so I figured he's probably going to take that excavator, and once he's taken that excavator, he should be gone out of here. I still got to set up security equipment. And the big thing about this field is I don't know if y'all can see that all that kind of that dark green stuff all over the place. That's all little trees. They're all sticking up out of the ground everywhere. This property has a lot of little trees on it, and the trees have thorns on them. They're the mosquito honey locust trees. And another option that I was looking at potentially for clearing up land was to get a guy on a skid steer with a tree grubber and have him pull the trees out one at a time. And I was thinking about maybe doing that, but with trees that are only this size, I'm pretty certain that the trichopler is just going to obliterate these trees. I'm pretty certain. These trees, I would say that a majority of these trees are between 3 and 5 feet tall. So I'm almost certain that, well, I would be willing to bet, and I would be willing to bet 10 to 1 that granted that I utilize the trichopler properly, it will absolutely obliterate these trees. And so I'm not concerned about it. But another option that I do have, and I will consider this for the other field, is to just get a guy on a skid steer to just pull the trees out of the ground one at a time. But that may not be very efficient. That trichopler, it should even if I don't spray trichopler at like a very high concentration, it still should decimate these little trees. A vast majority of these trees are between 3 and 5 feet tall. 3, 4, 5 feet tall, something like that. And so that is one other option that I do have, though. I can get a guy out here on a skid steer to pull the trees out one at a time. And even doing that will be but at that point it's like, should I really do that, or should I just pay 50% more and just get a bulldozer? But I'm not exactly sure how fast the guy can go on that skid steer. I mean, if he just, the good thing about pulling them out of the ground one at a time is that he can pile them up out of the way, and he can do that real efficiently. If you're on a bulldozer, it's real hard to get every single last tree and then pile everything up in one spot. So yep, I was actually thinking about that on the way over here. I found a guy that says he can pull trees out of the ground one at a time with the skid steer, and he says he can move pretty fast. But I would be willing to bet that the trichopler is going to obliterate these trees. So the whole situation with the trichopler is that I'm taking a look at the Weather Channel. And the Weather Channel says I got a good chance of it raining next week. And it's supposed to rain. So this month, the rainfall is supposed to be very low. I'm only supposed to end up getting about 1 inch of rain. And all of that rain is supposed to be happening between the 12th and the 19th. So during that week, sometime between like the 12th and the 21st, I will be getting all of the rain for the month during that time period. And these trees, they look like they got some leaves on them. They do have some leaves on them, and so I figured that when it rains, that is when I will herbicide the trees. So I'm gonna buy the herbicide here ASAP, and I will be utilizing trichopler 4. And when I take a look at what I got going on out here and the weather coming around, all of these little annual weeds that are on the ground, all of the annual weeds and the seeds that will regerminate when the rain happens, all that stuff should die with the trees as well, and that'll really clear up this land. But it's gonna take time for these trees to die. But these trees are not very big, so I don't think it's gonna take a long time for these trees to die. If I herbicide this property in 10 days, the herbicide should pretty much kill these trees within 2 months. I would say it probably would take 1 or 2 months. I don't think it's even gonna take 3 months. If I herbicide If I herbicide the property properly, and I herbicide it at the if I herbicide it properly, that's the big thing. And I think it'll take maybe I would reasonably consider, I would reasonably think that it would take about a month or two for all these trees to just die, and everything that's going to regerminate. The rain coming in should be happening sometime about next week, and it should be happening sometime between next week and the week the following week, sometime during that time period. So that rain, it should be enough rain to really get these trees metabolizing. The trees aren't very big to begin with. I'm not going to go around and pull these trees out of the ground one at a time with a skid steer. That'd be a waste of time. I am going to herbicide this property, and so this property should be ready to go by I would reasonably say it's going to be ready to go by the end of next month. It might be a little bit sooner, depending on how fast these trees die. I can herbicide the property, and I'm not even going to use that high of a concentration of herbicide. I'm not even going to use that high of a concentration. There's no reason to. These trees are not even that big, and so I may what I may end up doing is spraying this field with a I'll have to figure out what am I going to do. Do I want to use a high concentration of herbicide? Maybe. I may, because the whole thing about the, the label of the herbicide, there's a low dosage, and then there's a high dosage, and it says to use something between that range. And so I'll figure it out, and I'll be herbiciding this field probably next week, sometime between next week and the week after that. And I would reasonably anticipate that this herbicide is going to clear up this property real fast. These trees are not very big. And then I should be ready to go to use this field by about November. And that other field, I don't really want to clear up a bunch of land until I need it, okay? And then I also have my other property out on the about a 45-minute drive away. I have that other property. And one thing that I've realized, this whole soybean situation is that, and I didn't think about this until now, but I can actually leave a couple of bales of soybean hay out on that field, because my whole thing was, it's when the grass gets overgrown, the feed values of the grass are too low. When the feed values of the grass, grazing grass, it takes kind of a finesse, because the grass plant is a dynamic plant. As the grass grows, the feed values of the grass change. So when the grass is very small, the feed values of the grass will be somewhat astronomical. The protein values, the digestibility will be very high. And depending on what kind of grass is growing, that grass may go from vegetative to flowering very quickly. All right, like ryegrass grows, it grows vegetatively, and then it's like 2 weeks later, the plant is already about done producing its seed. The grass will go from growing vegetatively to like producing a full-on seed within like 1 month. And so, the feed values are too high, and then the feed values are too low. And so I can actually utilize soybean hay as a forage, I can leave a couple of bales of soybean hay out on that property that I got 45 minutes away. And that soybean hay will give the cattle a forage diet that is not too high and not too low all the time. It'll just give them a decent feed value forage, because I can't feed the animals on hay. And another thing that I was thinking about to do this before I came up with the idea with the soybean hay was to put a automatic feeder out there. But if I put an automatic feeder out there, I have to dump feed into it to make it to have feed, right? I mean, the feed doesn't just appear out of nowhere. And so a solar powered automatic feeder, but that would be a pain, because I would have to constantly fill up that feeder, right? I would have to fill up that feeder probably and I don't even have a tractor out there, and so I'd have to carry feed out there, and then I'd have to feed it up. I'd have to fill it up, and then if I'm feeding if I got maybe 12 animals out there, if I got like 20 animals out there, and I'm feeding I'm feeding 7-8 buckets of feed a day. I mean, that's like me feeding 200 pounds of feed a day, 240 pounds of feed a day. So a 2,000-pound automatic feeder would only carry enough food to feed the animals for 7 or 8, 9, 10 days, something like that, right? 7, 8, 9 days. And so I'd have to fill up that feeder every week. All right, if I had 25 animals out there, I'd have to fill up that feeder every single week. And but if I leave a couple of soybean bales out there, right, that soybean, one roll of soybeans is about 1,200 pounds. And so if I just take 2 out there and just leave them out there, that's very easy for me. I don't need a tractor. I can just tie the bale to a tree and then just drive my truck away, and it'll roll the soybean bale off the trailer. So I was thinking about that. I was like, that's a very good idea, and I should probably buy myself some soybean hay, which I will still look for it. I haven't really been able to find any, but I'm still looking for it. And when I can find myself some soybean hay, and this is also the thing that I told myself, is that I really need to be looking for soybean hay year round. If I can find one good load of soybean hay once a year, that'll be enough feed for me to, like, if I ever need feed, that I need to transport feed somewhere and leave feed for cattle, and I don't really want to, have to deal with a bunch of machinery, I can just leave them a couple of bales of soybean hay, and that soybean hay won't be all that they eat, right? They can still go around and eat the grass. The soybean hay will just give them something kind of like right in the middle, that's always effectively going to be a good quality feed. Because the grass itself, if the cattle don't eat it fast enough, the feed values fall very low. If the cattle eat it too fast and the feed values are too high, they'll bloat and they'll die. So the soybean hay will give them a constant feed that is just a decent feed values. The feed values won't change. And so that's a really good idea, and I should start doing that. And I'm gonna start using that other field. I will start using that other field too. That field that I got 45 minutes away. I need to fix the fence over there, but I'll be using that field over there too. I'll just leave a couple of soybean bales out. And this property, I'll be using this property. So this property and that other property, that 45-acre property and this 73-acre property, I'll be using these 2 fields by the end of next month. And once I get these 2 properties cash flowing, I will really focus myself on clearing up that 190-acre field. But that 190-acre field, the whole thing about my business right now is that this thing is going to get pretty gnarly pretty fast. The rate of growth that I will achieve if I commit to my business and I grow my business at its maximum capacity, and I do what I know that, granted that I don't granted that I don't become an idiot, and I just work on my business, this is going to get gnarly pretty fast. I would reasonably anticipate that by about January or February, about February of next year, March of next year, I will need to have purchased about 150 to 200 cattle. All right, this is going to get pretty gnarly pretty fast. By about March or April of next year, I'm looking for a piece of land to buy so that I can build out a new preconditioning system so that I can put more money into the front end of the herd more effectively. And so this is going to get pretty gnarly pretty fast, okay? By next month, by the end of next month, I would reasonably anticipate that this field is ready to go. And I'm also able to start utilizing I'm gonna go fix the fence on the other property, on the 45-acre property. I'll go fix the fence over there, and then I'm herbicide this field, and then I'll find myself some soybean hay, and I'll fertilize it. But I'll be utilizing that other field over there too, and so I'll have this field ready to go. I'll have that field ready to go, and then I'll be cash flowing 3 different fields. And when I'm doing that, I will go and fix up the 190-acre field, and I will get that all cleared up, and I'll get that all fixed up. And then I will be buying my own field. I'll be buying my own property so that I can start putting a lot of money into the front end of the herd, okay? And there's going to be a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of money. Granted that I run the business, there's going to be a lot of money. Okay, there's going to be a lot of money. I would reasonably anticipate that the amount of money that I make on a monthly basis will exceed $100,000 a month by about March of next year. And I may even I may legitimately end up making like $4 or $5 million next year. But I'll have to see. But there is a possibility that I end up making like $4 or $5 million next year. But I've said on a conservative estimate, a reasonable estimate, a conservative estimate, I'm just gonna say $2.5 million is what I'll make next year. But in terms of what am I going for, when I take a look at it, there's a possibility that it might be $4 or $5 million next year. I'll probably end up having about 150, 200 cattle just by March. And I'll build out a preconditioning system for my calves, and I'm gonna build out a real good one on my own piece of land. And so this whole thing about me spending money on just whatever it is that I feel like spending money on, 10% of the money, and I don't really even want a giant house. My whole thing about homes is that they're not good investments. I will buy myself a good house. And also, I think it's important to note that here in my area, here in Texas, homes don't cost a lot of money. Homes don't cost a lot of money. You can buy a very, if I'm going to build my own house, I can legitimately build a very nice house for like 350 grand. If I already have the land and I'm just looking to build a house on it, I can buy a legitimately very, I think a lot of people would be stunned. A lot of people would be like, what the heck? The type of house that you can buy in Texas for not a lot of money. Homes in Texas just don't cost a lot of money. They're not real expensive. If you go to like Florida or if you go to California, you're going to be buying hardly anything for like $1 million. But here in Texas, if you buy a $1 million house, you can buy a $1 million. If you're legitimately looking to buy like a $1 million house and you don't have the land or anything, you can legitimately put yourself in like one of the best neighborhoods in the entire country. Like one of the best neighborhoods, and you would have like a freaking McMansion. That's what $1 million in Texas buys you, a very nice house in a very nice neighborhood. All right. And that's also something that's very important to note about my area, is that if I legitimately just spend if I have a piece of land and I spend $350,000, $500,000 on a house, I could legitimately buy myself a very nice house, And I'm not looking to buy myself a mansion. Okay. I don't see homes as a good investment. Homes are not a good investment. I just really want something that I kind of want, like a neat little farmhouse. There was one house that I took a look at back in the day when I was looking for a property to buy. And this house was like the nicest house that I remember looking at this house, and I was like, wow, what a wonderful house. It's not like the biggest house. It's not the smallest house. It's not the fanciest house, but man, was it a nice house. It was like a little farmhouse kind of thing. It was a farmhouse kind of thing, and they had like this like stone. I don't know if it's marble. I don't know what it is, but if I saw the material, I would know what it was. It was like this stone floor, and it was super nice. I mean, it was like a very, very, and it had it was like a little farmhouse. It wasn't even a little house. I mean, it may have had 3 bedrooms, and it may have had 3 bedrooms, and it was a nice house. And so I was like, and the front yard had a wood fence around the entire front yard, and the backyard had a wood fence around the entire backyard. And I was like, man, I would legitimately, like, if I found out who built that house, I would just flat out copy and paste that house. It was like the most beautiful home I've ever seen in my entire life. And it probably doesn't even cost that much money. I could probably buy it for 350, 450 grand. All right, I could probably build the whole thing from the bottom up for like less than $500,000. And realistically, a $500,000 loan, the whole thing about my assets is that, like, if I held my land as collateral and I just took a loan against my land and bought a $500,000 a house, A $500,000 house would cost me, like, for me to legitimately take a loan for $500,000, it wouldn't even cost me $3,000 a month. It maybe cost me $3,000 a month, maybe, but it probably would cost me less. All right, and this is also what I mean by the amount of money that I make. There's no reasonable way there's no real way for me to spend it, unless I'm gonna do something with it that will legitimately, like, okay, so there are two ways for me to legitimately spend this money. One would be if I developed a lot of problems, gambling, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. Another way, the way that I'm actually looking to utilize the capital is to utilize the capital to do something for the world. That's the only other way. The amount of money that I make is becoming so large. I'm effectively going to be paying myself every single month from here until effectively infinity. And the amount of money that I make on a monthly basis will be going up every single month. Granted that I run my business properly. So I'm effectively going to get paid from now until infinity every single month. And the amount of money that I make on a monthly basis is going to go up every single month. By about March of next year, I would reasonably anticipate that my income goes over, will be roughly $1 million a year. The amount of money that I make on a yearly basis will be about $1 million a year. Somewhere between, somewhere around $80,000 to $100,000 a month plus. Even right now, when I take a look at it, I mean, I'd be looking at, I'd be very close to about $30,000 a month, and I'll probably end up tripling that over the next 7 months, okay? And so, at $100,000 a month, that it's just not possible to spend the money. Granted that I don't go and do something ridiculous. There is one possibly legitimate way of spending this amount of money, of utilizing this amount of capital, and that is to implement big projects that would benefit the world. All right, something that's about the only way to implement this type of money. And so, that's effectively what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to farm more land. And so, but that's a very reasonable way of looking at it. If I bought a $500,000 house, and I built that house from the ground up on my own piece of land, and I took a loan against my land to buy that house, it would only be about $3,000 a month. All right. So I would still have to spend another $97,000 a month. All right. Well, I mean, if I take 1 month, but here's the thing. If I'm going to gauge how much money I spend on a yearly basis as a 10% of what I make for that year, if I'm going to gauge that as I increase my income, I would have to spend more money, right? So, it's always a moving target. The amount of money that I make is always going upwards. Granted that I am running my business properly. All right. Granted that I am running my business properly. All the money that I make on a monthly basis is always moving upwards. Granted that I'm running my business properly. I'm not doing drugs or anything like that. Okay. I'm not gambling. I'm not drinking, anything like that. The amount of money that I make on a monthly basis is always going upwards. And so if I'm going to gauge how much money I utilize for the different categories, right, the 10, 10, and 80, right, 10% is going to go to me, 10% is going to go to the people who helped me, and then 80% is going to go into projects that would, I believe, morally benefit the world. That I believe is a morally correct thing to do with money. And but the thing about a house is that technically, I guess a house wouldn't benefit the world, but technically I need a place to live, right? I mean, and so but even if I spend my money on it, it wouldn't matter, okay? It wouldn't matter. Well, I mean, and also I shouldn't start blurring the lines, okay? A home would be for me, but here's the thing, legitimately, when it comes to a home is not a good investment, but it is still an asset. It's not really even an asset, it's just a store of equity, okay? It's a liability, but it's still a store of equity, okay? It's a little bit better than a car. Technically, that home is still worth money. And if I legitimately want the money that I put in the house back out of the house, if I legitimately want that money back, it will raise the value of my land and et cetera, I can take a loan against it, okay? That's the whole thing about having real estate, that this includes a house. Homes are not good assets. So even then, I mean, a home wouldn't really even cost me anything because, it's whatever, okay? It barely cost me anything. And so, long story short, I would still have to spend a lot of money on top of that to legitimately utilize the amount of capital that I'm talking about. If I'm going to push myself to spend 10% of the money that I make on a yearly basis, and the amount of money that I make is always going upwards, it will be a moving target. All right, so it will be a moving target. So I will have to continuously spend more money as I run my business to keep that 10% ratio. And so, and I figured that one thing, and there is legitimately, okay, if let's say that I make $4 million, right? If I make $4 million, for me to spend 10% of it, I would have to spend $400,000. And if I leverage that money, right? If I leverage that money, because the whole thing is like, if I went and bought a Phantom, right? Or even if I bought a helicopter, let's say I bought a helicopter for $2 million. And when I bought this helicopter for $2 million, let's say I buy a $2 million helicopter. And when I bought this $2 million helicopter, I held my assets for collateral. And I said, here you go, banker. Hold my assets for collateral and give me a loan for $2 million so that I can just go and buy myself a $2 million helicopter. And why would I do that? Because my interest rate on any piece of equipment is effectively 0%. I get 0% interest on effectively everything. The most interest that I have ever paid on a piece of equipment is 3%. My credit is very good. I'm not leveraged to the eyeballs, okay? Why would I pay cash for anything? The only reason that I would pay cash for a piece of equipment is if they gave me a very steep discount, like 30%. If they gave me a 30% discount, then I would pay cash. And if they're not going to give me a 30% discount, I'll just take a loan for the piece of equipment, and I'll probably end up getting somewhere close to 0% interest on it anyway. All right. So I buy myself a $2 million helicopter. I pay whatever, right? I pay let's say I pay $10,000 a month for it. And I ride around in my helicopter for a year. And I say, you know what? So that right there's 120 grand, right? So I say whatever, right? Next year I've decided that I don't want to have the helicopter anymore. I've decided that I'm going to trade, or I'm going to just turn in my helicopter. Turns out I didn't need it. That helicopter may have gone down in value, but it's still worth money. Maybe I paid $2 million for it, and maybe they give me 1.6 million for it, right? So I lost 400 grand. Then it's whatever, right? It doesn't matter. Granted that I'm, the whole thing about like not buying drugs, right? Why? Because drugs, alcohol, gambling, stuff like that, it's like burning money. It's the money's gone forever, okay? But if I bought a helicopter, if I bought a house, if I bought myself a new truck, all that stuff, even though the value of it has gone down, even though I may technically be losing money on it, I wouldn't have lost all my money on it, and it would still have some kind of a value to it, right? And so I could always trade it back in and get the money back out if I needed it. So, it's whatever, right? It's whatever. And so if there's a very real possibility that I end up making, somewhere between, I'm just, it's going to be, 2.5 million is a conservative estimate, okay? And so I'm thinking about, what should I spend the money on? Because if I'm going to spend, and this is also not something that I like to spend a lot of time thinking about, because I would rather spend my time thinking about growing my business. But the first thing that comes into mind is that I would like to set up, I'm going to talk, I probably need to talk to a lawyer about it. And I'm looking to figure out a way to set up a trust or something for my brother. That's something that I would like to do. I would like to make sure that my brother is not concerned about money for the rest of his life. That's something that I would reasonably like to do with the money that I make. So I'm gonna set up something for my brother to be financially squared away for the rest of his life. But even that's not gonna cost me a lot of money. I just put money in the S&P 500, and I'm gonna talk to a lawyer about it. Maybe whatever, right? Maybe I just maybe I buy a house, and maybe I buy a house, and maybe I could buy a house in a nice neighborhood, right? Get him a maid, and just let him live in it for free or something, or let him pay whatever $100 a month for rent. I don't know. I'd have to talk to a lawyer about it, but that's one thing that I'd like to do. And it's like if I bought my brother a house. Well, if I bought myself a house and I let my brother live in it, and I got him a maid, right? I mean, then if I got him a very nice small house for him to live in, or if I bought myself a very small nice house to live in, but I didn't, it was my vacation home, and I let him stay there, then and I got a maid to clean the place. Then whatever, I left I left the car over there and then let him drive it, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Put him on the insurance, and it's whatever. But I'd like to, I'm looking to figure out a way to set my brother up financially for the rest of his life. That's one thing that I'd like to do with the money that I make. Because the money that even if I only spend 10% of what I make on myself, I won't be able to do it. It's going to be such a large amount of money that it's not possible. It would not, it would not be possible, granted that I didn't start doing drugs. All right. The amount of money that I make on a monthly basis is going to be so large that I won't be able to spend it. All right. Even 10% of it, I won't be able to spend it. So I'm looking to set up my brother financially for the rest of his life too. That's one thing that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind, and when I see an opportunity, I will take it. But that's one thing that I'm looking for as well. But but when it comes down to it, in reality, the only thing that I would really like to spend my time thinking about is running my business. Because if I run my business, all this other stuff is a byproduct. All right. If I run my business properly, all this other stuff is just a byproduct. All this other stuff, all the amount of money that I make will always be going upwards. All right. It's going to be such a large amount of money. Granted that I, do well and I just continue forward with this. It's going to be such a large amount of money that I won't be able to spend it anyway. Okay. And I am looking to implement a vast majority of the money that I make into doing things that benefit humanity. That's one of my big goals, is to utilize a vast majority of my money to. But here's the thing, and this is also what I mean by I'm not a saint. I'm not a saint. I'm still going to end up I'm still looking to spend 10% of the money that I make on me. And that 10% of the money, you have to understand that I will end up with a lot of assets. I will end up with a lot of assets. The amount, my cattle will be a pristine asset. My land will be a pristine asset. I still own my business, and my business is very, 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 very high positive cash flow. I mean, whatever it is that I'm looking to buy, I can just leverage against my balance sheet and just pay for it. And then I can just use pool number 3 to pay for the debt service, okay? And pool number 3 is a tip of the iceberg. It's a irrelevant sum of money in terms of the amount of money that I make. And so I'm not a saint. I'm not on some mission to save the earth. If anything, I don't save anybody. I'm not on some magical journey. I'm not a saint. I'm just saying the amount of money that I make is so large that I won't be able to spend it. And so, I firmly believe in God, and I do not believe that I would have made it without God. Okay, if anything, I'm kind of a turd, right? I'm kind of a turd. I understand this. I'm not the next Jesus Christ. I'm not. I'm kind of a turd, if anything. All right. I'm not some saint. Not even close. I don't see myself as an I fell out of heaven a 7. Okay. I'm not a saint. I'm not here to save the earth. If anything, I'll leave you for dead. I don't care if you, I don't care. I'm not here to save anybody. I will be utilizing capital to positively affect the world where I can. Maybe that'll be I don't know. But that's farming more land. That would me when I farm land, I do very well, and I do very well for myself, and I can look to utilize the capital to progress the farming industry. All right, I can show the world what's possible, and I don't know, maybe when I end up with a whole bunch of land, maybe I look to lease it out to people, and I don't know, I can do whatever I want, right? Maybe I could even set up a free educational thing or something to have people come to my farm and learn about how I do it, or whatever it may be. Whatever it is, I'm looking to positively benefit the world. Okay, I'm looking to positively benefit the world, but I'm also not a saint. It's very important to note that even if I spend 10% of the money that I make on me, even if I only spend 10% of the money that I make on me, it's still enough money to do anything on the entire planet. All right, it's still enough to do anything on the entire planet. The money's irrelevant. I have assets. I can hold my assets for collateral and leverage for whatever it is that I'm looking to buy. And if we're talking about me leveraging, $350,000 a year, that is going to be like me spending, I don't even know how much money that would be. Tens of millions of dollars that I would have to spend, probably. All right, it'd probably be tens of millions, if not 10 million, 20 million, something like. I don't even know. I don't even know. Okay, it'd probably be something like $10 million a year, and and so I'm not a saint. Okay, I have assets. I can hold my assets for collateral. I can buy whatever it is that I want. I can leverage against the money that I'm looking to spend, and then I can just float the debt with the money. And yeah, so I'm not a saint, and I don't know. How do I benefit the world? I don't know yet. A lot of people are a massive pile of problems, and they're you're not saving an idiot from themselves, and but one way that I do believe that I can benefit the world is for me to keep working. Is for me to keep working, and when I work and I show you how it's done, I show you it's possible, right? When it comes down to it, I've shown you it's possible. That is one thing that I can do to morally benefit the world, is to just keep working. I don't, if I ever end up in a situation where I stop working, I just take the money that I have and I dump it in the S&P 500, and I just sit on my hands for the rest of my life. That's not going to help anybody, right? So that's one thing. I understand that I make a boatload of money, and very realistically, if I just worked for one more year, I would honestly have enough money to where I wouldn't even have to fry chicken at Wingstop anymore. I could just sit there and just put the money in the S&P 500 and just make my whatever, make my what's 7% of like a of $3.5 million? I don't even know. I can make that on a yearly basis. It'd be like $200,000 a year, right? And so I would, and I wouldn't even be concerned about it. And at 5 million, it'd be $350,000 a year. But one thing that I can do, that I believe that I can benefit the world, is to keep working. All right, is to just keep working. I don't ever want to end up in a situation where I'm just where I'm just sitting on my hands and never having to worry about money again, and just have all my money in the S&P 500. I don't want to end up in that situation. And one of the things that I can do to benefit the world is to keep working. But I am looking to financially set up my brother for the rest of his life. I am looking to get my brother financially squared away for the rest of his life. That's one thing that's going on in the back of my head. But in the very forefront of what I think about is to run my business. Okay, that is my main priority, is to run my business. Granted that I run my business properly, all three pools of money will grow at the same time, and very realistically, probably by about February of next year, I will end up with the pool number 4. I will likely end up in a situation where I start pulling the cash out of my business and start investing with straight debt so I can increase the amount of leverage that I have on my balance sheet. I will start probably doing that probably by about January or February of next year, and I will have to invest about $90,000 worth of straight debt. Or excuse me, 90 animals worth of straight debt. If the feeder cattle market goes sideways, I would have to invest about 90 animals worth of straight debt to get myself to a reasonable amount of leverage. And until I do that, I can just keep pulling the money out of the business. And once I have hit that point, I could put the money back into my business. But if I put the money back into my business, I would also have to leverage against that capital. I would also be looking to leverage against that capital. That's how I'm looking to run my business, right? So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of money, all right? And my whole thing about money, if it comes, when it comes down to it, I'm not looking to be a prick about it. But, I didn't do some horrible thing. I didn't do some malicious thing. I didn't get paid until like my 12th year. All right, I do very well for myself. I'm not in some wonky business. If you legitimately cannot understand that beef cattle and gold are in the same sector of the economy, it's a very easy way to look at it. Gold and beef cattle are in the ssame sector of the economy, and you can't just sit there and just take a look at it and and just do simple multiplication on a calculator to figure out what's the feeder cattle price, and then multiply it by 800, and that's the price of a number 1 type medium large frame commodity steer. Like, if you can't do that, right? You just go on the stock market, look it up. If it's 350, you multiply $3.50 times 800, and that is the price for a number 1 type 800-pound commodity steer. If you can't do that, then I genuinely, granted that you're not like mentally handicapped, granted that you're then I would then there's a very real possibility that you're an idiot. All right, you're not mentally, if you're not mentally handicapped, if you're not like legitimately handicapped and you can't do that, there is a very real possibility that you're an idiot. 1 ounce of gold is worth monetarily less money than 1,000 ounces of gold. A 200-pound animal, beef commodity animal, number 1 type 800-pound steer, is worth monetarily less money than an 800-pound number 1 type commodity steer. Money's not an opinion, and at the end of the day, I'm the one with the money. If you have no money, and money's not everything, but it is something. All right, and I'm also not a malicious person. I also didn't do some horrible thing for money. I run an honest business. I run beef cattle. I feed people. All right. And at the end of the day, I made my peace with God about it. I don't ask for judgment from man. I don't ask for judgment of man. Most people are idiots. Why would I care about your judgment? You're an idiot. There's a very real possibility. A majority of people are idiots. Why would I ask for judgment from man? I made my peace with God about it. All right? And at the end of the day, I have the money. I don't care, okay? I will legitimately watch you die poor if that's what it comes down to. Am I looking to make people poor maliciously? No, I'm not. All right? I hope you figure it out, and I hope you do something for yourselves, all right?